Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this edition of The Rundown. I'm your host, Craig DeLuz, and joining me on the right coast
is co-hosting for the day, Mike Piwowarski. Happy Thursday to everybody.
Happy Thursday, day after hump day, day before the weekend.
It's kind of like purgatory during the week. You know, it's you're in the middle. You're not really there yet.
I hear you, sir. I hear you, sir. Any plans for the weekend?
Oh, sure. I will work on Saturday and work half of Sunday. Then my weekend will start Sunday at noon and end about midnight.
I mean, you're a bit of a workaholic, man. You need to find a way to kind of break that up with some fun times.
If there was only a way, if there was only a way.
Okay, wait a minute. What is that you're drinking? Is that bourbon?
Listen, I don't normally drink during the day, but if you do day drink, do it at work. That's what I say. But when I got into the bourbon room today to do the show, there was a cup of bourbon there, and divine intervention, I'm thinking, because I don't remember pouring it, so I just figured it was meant for me.
Wait, so does bourbon go bad if you leave it sitting out?
There's not a lot of floaty things in it, so I think we're good. I mean, it's alcohol. It probably cleanses itself.
Yeah, so. I normally if I find bourbon, it's usually, well, I rarely find bourbon because usually I finish it's been finished before I come across it.
Right, folks. I kid. I'm in the South. It's a cup of sweet tea, is what it is.
Well, while things may be more, how shall we say, libacious in the South. Needless to say, things out here in the West are still as crazy as ever, especially when one starts talking about politics.
Oh, boy.
Well, here in the state of California, unlike many states, we're still not back. Our students are still not back in school. Most students are still doing distance learning, and that's largely, as we all know, now anybody who's been following this knows that all the data shows that schools are safe. Schools are a safe place for students to be. And the only reason why schools have not reopened or took as long to reopen as they did in some places was because of teachers' unions and the fact that they've basically held out and basically tried to extort more money out of politicians in order to be able to get schools to reopen. Well, in the state of California now, the largest teachers' union in the state of California, while California, by the way, is on the verge of getting ready to open back up and open schools back up, now they're saying that they want free childcare as a condition to reopen schools.
Craig, I honestly don't know how you do it out there in California. You guys have been down on lockdown for well over a year. 78 of the country's back to normal. I know New York City is still locked down. I remember sitting today at work looking at the view of Midtown Manhattan that they had outside Rockefeller Center, and it was 9:00 in the morning, and there was 2 cars and 30 people on the streets. It's amazing. I mean, it was rush hour in New York City, and you didn't see anything. 3 cars, and again, like 20 people. And I know that's what you're doing in California, except for your governor, who can go out and evidently have dinner whenever he wants to, wherever he wants to. It's unfathomable that your education system is still locked down. We did that down here for. Like I said, our governor gave it a month, and he's taking heat every day. We talked about the story with CBS going after him with on 60 Minutes. It's just, I don't know how you do it. You're still doing that. I don't know how you still debate. And I understand 90% of people are landlocked there because can't afford to get out. But
right.
I don't understand how everybody has not stepped off of the governor's policies and said, we're done.
Well, one of the things that has happened is you've seen in a lot of municipalities, a lot of sheriffs, a lot of cities have said, look, we're just not going to enforce this. So, yeah, if you want to be out, if you want to go out or anything like that, no, we're not going to enforce this. They're just a lot of places aren't on lockdown. Now, if you're in a major city, in particular a major Democrat-run city, well, then you're probably going to see things on lockdown. You're going to see businesses shutting their doors. You're going to see kids just losing their minds trying to compensate and cope in this environment where they're not able to go to school. I mean, it's been horrible. And the thing that frustrates me the most is, when we first closed things down, it was like I said, I was at the time as a school board member, I was saying, well, who is advocating for closing the schools? The CDC wasn't. No major or no nationally recognized virologists or epidemiologists were recommending closing the schools. But I was like, okay, well, we don't know what we don't know. So better be safe than sorry. Then when it came time to look at reopening, we were near the end of the school year. So because we were still collecting data and all of that, it was like, okay, I don't agree with staying closed, but okay, fine. But during the summertime, supposedly in California, we had spent millions on contact tracing, on trying to figure out where this virus, who was getting it, how they were getting it, who was getting sick, how sick they were getting, and be able to then start to look at what are the things that we can do that are safe and what are the things that we can do that are not safe. And guess what? The governor of the state of California, the people who had the data refused to share the data, and they just said, no, we're going to stay closed.
And meanwhile, this week, Dr. Fauci, or Dr. Fakey, as he's become known, he said there's a new strand out there that is undetectable and cannot be tested. And also, this strand, you can be asymptomatic and be positive for the COVID, and no one would know. So, again, what he said was the test for the current strand, you may not know you have it and be able to spread it. So everybody needs to continue to wear their mask. Does this sound like real science to you, Craig, or does this sound like
you mean the guy who lied about the guy who either lied about the effectiveness of masks when they first came out, or lied when he said he lied about the effectiveness of masks? That guy.
Yeah, remember, if you're going to wear, because they came out with the wear the multiple mask thing. The multiple mask thing is what you should do. If you're still wearing that one mask, and they want you to wear multiple, just remember that 2 doesn't work, because one mask actually cancels out the other, so you need 3 masks. So if you're one of those people that believes you have to wear multiple masks, 3 is the key. Remember that.
Three is the key. Go ahead. Now, you're starting something, man. Look, if I see someone walking around with 3 masks, I am going to tell him, stop listening to Mike P.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
And in California, you're just likely to see something crazy like that happen because, well, crazy things happen in the state of California. For example, we have a recall election going. Now, those of you who remember the last recall that we had here in the state of California, it was a clown show. And the biggest clown, well, in the end, turned out to be the voters of California, because we elected Arnold Schwarzenegger, who ran as a Republican, eventually became in policy, in practice, a Democrat. Well, now you have another Republican superstar. I want to say superstar's too big. Another Republican celebrity who's decided to jump into the race, or who is at least considering jumping into the race for governor during a recall, and is none other than Caitlyn Jenner. Now, for those of you who don't know who Caitlyn Jenner is, Caitlyn Jenner was formerly Bruce Jenner, gold-winning decathlete in the 1976 Olympics, right?
Cover of Wheaties. Listen, Jenner is, do it, But my concern is, halfway through the term, will Caitlyn Jenner decide doesn't like being governor anymore and might do something different? I've been governor now. I don't want to be governor anymore. Now I'm going to be something different all over again. Listen, Craig, at this point, I think if you could get any Republican in there, I think it might be time to say, you know what, as whacked out as Bruce / Caitlyn Jenner is, put him / her in office. Let's do it. It doesn't. I don't even care the clothes he or she wears today, or how they identify today. Just do it. Anything has got to be better than what we have. Than what we have right now. You are 100%. You are 100% correct. Yeah.
I found the funniest thing that happened during the press conference was when Caitlyn Jenner said it was easy to come out as trans. It was much harder to come out in California as a Republican.
That's very true. That's very true. Listen, at this point, if you're in California, I'd vote for Gary Coleman. I know he's dead. He was on the ballot.
I was going to point that out.
He was on the ballot last time, and he would still make a better governor than Newsom.
Yes. Well, there are not many people who would not make a better governor than Newsom.
That's true. That's true, and that's including the dead.
That's including
yeah,
including the dead.
including the dead. Yeah.
Okay, changing gears a little bit. And this is kind of, it is, to me, it is the height of I don't even know. I'll let you pick the word, Mike. So you guys know that there was recently an individual who killed a Capitol officer, ran his car into two officers, killing one of them, and the guy's name is Noah Green. And the only reason I mentioned his name is because the Nation of Islam has kind of basically has put out an announcement or a press release or whatever it is, talking about how how the Nation of Islam mourns brother Noah Green, who died this is the guy who died while killing a Capitol cop. He eventually would wind up getting shot. He would jump out of the car with a knife, trying to stab an officer, and he eventually was shot and killed. And you have the Nation of Islam, mourning his loss.
Now, Craig, the Nation of Islam, just by the name alone, would seem to indicate to me that this was a terrorist activity. Now, it would be a domestic terrorist activity because we know the Nation of Islam is something that was founded here in the United States, but it still follows the teachings of Islam and jihad, and to go after those in military positions, government positions, law enforcement positions, and they killed this hero Capitol police officer and nearly killed the second one. How is this acceptable? How has President Biden not come out against this? How has former President Obama not come out against this? Because he seems to be coming out against everything right now. By the way, every time the former President Trump's name comes up, former President Obama thinks it's the right time to criticize him. How is our peace-loving new administration not coming out against this?
Well, in this case, what they're blaming it on is mental illness. And that's pretty much the same tack that the folks from the Nation of Islam are taking. They're basically blaming it on mental illness. It could not have possibly been the fact that many of the things that are taught at the Nation of Islam are anti-law enforcement, anti-police, anti-American. It couldn't be that this is a case of domestic terrorism because, only white supremacists are guilty of domestic terrorism. They're the only ones who engage in that clearly. So obviously, for those of you who are listening who don't realize I'm being sarcastic. But
listen, from Malcolm X to Louis Farrakhan to this guy here, the teachings of the Nation of Islam have always been to gain our perceived independence through violence. As opposed to what Martin Luther King preached. Through peace. I get there's time to take up arms, but this has never been about freedom of peace. This has always been about violence for them.
Well, the hard part is, and there's the reason why the Nation of Islam has become very popular in the American in the black community is, and especially in prisons, in many cases, it has provided them with both the discipline and the self-worth. Now, mind you, the self-worth is largely based on hating other people, in this particular case, white people, but it gives them a sense of self-worth and a sense of discipline and family that oftentimes they didn't have at home or in their community. There's a reason why a lot of young men wind up joining gangs. Looking for the same exact thing, and it's frustrating because also tied with that are so many things that are harmful both to the individual, but also, quite frankly, to us as a nation that are extremely divisive, and it's the sort of divisiveness that we have to fight against. To me, this is an act of domestic terrorism, even if it wasn't ordered, and I don't believe that it was ordered or guided by people at the Nation of Islam, but I do believe that in his mind, he thought that he was engaged in jihad, and he was trying to kill the infidel. That's what I believe. That's what's consistent with the facts of the case. And and I think it is an act of domestic terrorism. But I don't disagree that mental illness played a role in it. But then again, I think when you look at even some of the people who people look at and accuse them of being white supremacists, I think they accuse them of being white supremacists. But I think in a lot of those cases, guess what? I think they had mental issues as well.
Yeah, and listen, I know you say mental issues, but I think this may have been a case of mental defect. This guy right there follows the Nation of Islam, and I'm sorry if you believe that the Nation of Islam or the teaching of jihadists in Islam is proper. It is not. This guy. And the way terrorists works is to put the jihad out there, put the policy out there, put the ideology out there, and then have decentralized control. You've told them what you want in the end. You've given them the end state that you want, and you've also encouraged them to take their own means and their own however they're going to facilitate that happening to occur. They don't need the permission of the director, the chapter president, whatever it happens to be. They take that teachings of Islam, they take the jihad, and they go forth and do it. For Nation of Islam to say, no, this guy has a mental defect. Why? So he managed to carry out your task, and now you're going to find a reason to do it. This is the same task you've instructed people for years and years and years. That doesn't mean it's acceptable just because this guy has a mental defect. You put the mission in his brain.
Exactly. So, I think that once again, but that's why I also think it's important that we all are, even because I think in some cases we need to be careful of our rhetoric, because not to say that you are, if you say something, you're responsible for what someone else does, but we want to make sure that we're not feeding into, people who tend to agree with us. We don't want to feed into inciting their
right.
their stupidity.
Yeah. They're wackadoos. We don't want to feed into
all
that.
All sides got the wackadoos, man. All sides got their wackadoos.
Yep. Exactly right.
So, hey, speaking of wackadoos, let's talk about baseball.
Wow. Just wow.
Well, okay, so Mike, I'm sure that you took some time. Did you have a chance to read the op-ed that was put out on the Wall Street Journal by baseball's former commissioner Fay Vincent? And I'll just share with you the title of it. The title of it is Rob Manfred's All-Star Error. Can you guess which way he went on this particular commentary?
Yeah, no, listen, Fay Vincent was commissioner, I want to say, 25 years ago is when he stopped being a commissioner. We had Bud Selig after that. Now, obviously, we have Rob Manfred the past couple of years. This was clearly the political leanings of Rob Manfred. We've talked to you a couple times on here about the Major League Baseball Players Association, the Players Alliance, which is the alliance of 100 black players in the league that Rob Manfred created last year. This went the wrong way. For so many reasons, Atlanta needed this game. They were going to be honoring Hank Aaron, who previously, died within the past couple of months over a COVID vaccine, where the university there asked him to take the vaccine. Set the example for elder black Americans, especially in Atlanta. Atlanta's a city. When you look at the census there, they have it's 51% of African Americans, black Americans there that live in that city. This has been everything to them. It's been estimated as high as $190 million was going to that city. They had been planning this for 5 years. 5 years they knew the All-Star game was going to come there when they built the new stadium, and they had the new stadium planned. They'd already petitioned Major League Baseball to get the game. Knew this was coming. There are so many businesses that had struggled through COVID and just stayed around, Craig, knowing that, we'll have the All-Star game and we'll have that windfall and we'll be able to get through it. All we have to do is hold on through the Summer Classic here in 2021. It was, we've got new laws that the sponsors and corporate wokeness, pressured Major League Baseball to move it out of this town, and it's backfired tremendously. The only people they hurt were the people of Atlanta. The innocent people and business owners of Atlanta were the ones hurting this, not the government. Nothing.
The interesting thing about all of this was, in particular, is when you think about the fact that 51% of Atlanta is black, only 9% of Denver is black.
Yeah.
Right. So in other
Yeah.
words, you're hurting largely a larger group, a larger percentage of African Americans are going to be hurt by losing, what is it, like $190 million?
$190 million is the estimate that they lost.
Yeah. $190 million is in the end what they're going to wind up losing.
Yeah.
And, that's all money that's not going to be circulating through that economy. People who are hurting are not going to be able to receive that there. And that's it. And what's funny about it is that, and this is one of the things that Faye Vincent points out in his commentary. He's like, first of all, Manfred never said anything about Georgia laws and talked about what was wrong with them. And probably because, like most of the people on the left, he never actually read the bill. But here's the thing, is that Denver has stricter voting laws than does Georgia. Let me hit you to another one. New York, the state of New York, where Major League Baseball is actually headquartered, they have stricter voting laws than the ones that are now in Georgia.
Yeah, Delaware, and the capital Dover, where President Biden is from, stricter voting laws.
They have no early voting days, zero early voting days.
Absolutely. Faye Vincent also lays blame on Stacey Abrams because it was her organization, her movement that started this ball rolling. I have many friends in Atlanta and the Atlanta area, and Stacey Abrams is facetiously known as she's the president of Georgia. We all know she lost the election to Kemp, just over 2 years ago, but they call her the president of Georgia because that's what she thinks she is. She still walks around politicking as if she won the job.
Right. And we all, quite frankly, know, that she didn't.
Yeah.
But I mean, and that's what's funny is that now keep in mind that when President Trump was going around saying that he didn't lose the election, that the election was stolen, keep in mind there was someone who's been saying that for 4 years, and that was Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams spent the last 4 years talking about how she didn't lose elections. But because Trump said it, all of a sudden now, well, he's bad and evil, and well, she's a hero. But the level of hypocrisy doesn't end. Take, for example, like the companies that have come out in these cases and that have come out and said, well, we're completely 100% against what's going on in Georgia. Well, guess who they still do business with? China. Yeah, China. China that actually was where the coronavirus came from. China, the Chinese Wuhan Kung Fu bat flu. Yeah, that's where it came from. China, who actually has slaves, have slaves. Yes, they have people who are slaves. The nation that sends rapists in to rape the women who are part of a religion, a Muslim religion, send them in there because they're trying to weed them out. And it's just, I'm telling you, it is just, the human rights abuses are so overwhelming in China. It is unbelievable. Yet you have companies like Apple, Coca-Cola, and Delta Airlines all still doing business in and with China.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of those businesses are about to get a little feel the repercussions. I know from some of my inside baseball sources, not every team was for this. There was a majority of teams were not for the pulling of the All-Star game from Atlanta. Now, many of the teams said, listen, we're baseball, we're entertainment, we're the break from politics, don't get involved in this. Well, there's a few stadiums coming up, Craig, that have Coke as their, not only the big sponsor, but it's Coca-Cola products they serve throughout the stadium. And they've told Coca-Cola, you're out. We're going to be a Pepsi or an RC Cola stadium, but you're done. Oh, and by the way, you Delta Airlines that we contract to fly from city to city for our teams, you're out too. You're out. So not only is it the fans that are doing the boycott, a bunch of the teams are doing the boycott also. And that's not only against Players Association, that's against the commissioner's office.
Well, and I think that it's important that they do that. And I don't care. Here's the thing. In this particular case, what we're talking about is an individual who made a decision, a commissioner who made a decision uh, based on zero fact,
Right.
based on no information,
Yep.
just based on just based on nothing but emotion. And he made a decision that's impacting the lives of a lot of people in the state of Georgia, and in particular in the city of Atlanta. It's also affected individuals because, like you said, I watch sports as an escape. I don't watch
Right.
sports because I do a politics all day, every day. I do it as an escape, and I don't want politics in the middle of my sports. And in particular, if you're going to pick a side, just understand that if your side is different than mine, well, let me clarify. If you pick the wrong side, because if you're against me, you're wrong,
Yeah.
then just know that I'm not going to be interested. I'm not going to sit there and let you use my time and my money to proselytize against what I believe.
Yeah. There's not a chance that Rob Manfred actually read the law that came out of Georgia.
Nope.
He listened to the media, he listened to the news, and that's what he did. Also today you had yesterday you had the director of the Masters there, because when Stacey Abrams, her organization, and these woke corporate sponsors asked Major League Baseball to pull out of the All-Star game, they also asked for the Masters to leave. And the director of the Masters came out and said yesterday that Masters is not just the name of the tournament; it's actually the name of the course that we have. So we can't make it leave because it's here. It's 100 acres on the ground. We can't leave. We can't take it. It's almost as if they said, "Listen, we boycott the city of Augusta. We want it to leave Georgia."
Right.
I'm sorry. What?
But see, that's the idiocy. And
Yeah.
and the funny thing is to listen to people open their yaps and be loud and just once again, I like I've told you, I have asked anyone, I begged anyone to debate me on the substance of this law and tell me exactly how it is racist, how it is worse than Jim Crow. And then you got a guy. By the way, this is getting into our parting shot. We have Mr. Shannon Sharpe, who is a former football player who just for some reason cannot keep his mouth shut about things which he knows nothing about, including the Georgia law. And here's a particular one where, well, he has a particular quote at the end of this. It's about 2 minutes. It's a little over 2 minutes, but I wanted you to catch the quote at the end. Check it out.
I like the move by MLB. I like they're taking a stand. And Skip, at some point in time, you're going to have to put action to your words. You say you're about inclusion. You say you're about doing the right thing. At some point in time, you have to put those actions into words. Put those words into action.
Yep.
And that's what they're doing, Skip. Now, you're going to be relegated to where you can take this game to. Because there's a lot of other states that's doing the exact same thing as Georgia. Texas, Florida. So Florida, you're off the list. Texas, you're off the list. There are a lot of states that are doing the exact same thing that Georgia did. Now, Skip, what I don't understand, and this is what's confusing with me. Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham was on the under ticket for President Trump. President Trump lost the election because of fraud, but they won the election. They won their Senate races. It was fair and square. I'm confused, Skip. How does that work? Well, the top guy lost, but my election was fair and square, so let's do something about it. Now, in 2016, we know for a fact Russia tried to interfere. Mitch McConnell would do nothing. He wouldn't even bring it to the floor. Now, you want to put these rights because what they see, Skip, there's a changing of the guard. More people are becoming of age to vote, and they're minorities, and they're voting. So instead of changing your messaging and try to reach out to a new base, what do? We're going to try to restrict so you can't. It shouldn't be harder to vote than to get a gun.
All right, now, Mike, I don't know, man. Last I checked, it is a lot harder to get a gun than it is to vote, even in the state of Georgia.
Well, is he shopping at like a legitimate gun store, or is he just going down to the loophole and getting one?
Going down to the loophole? Is he going down and voting out of the trunk of someone's car?
Yeah, we all know you could just go to the loophole and get your gun. You don't have to deal with any of the laws or regulations. When I go to the gun show, I'm going to go to the loophole.
Okay.
You go over to the corner and you just put your hand in and you grab the gun and you pull it out and you have the gun out of the loophole.
That's that the gun show loophole they've been trying to get rid of?
It's the loophole. It's the loophole. I mean, all they got to do is cinch it up. It's like a it's a slip knot. You just pull it down, and the loophole's closed. It's just that's all they have to do. We just pass the loophole law. It's just we'll pull it out of the loophole.
Man, what gets me is, and this is the thing, man, is that once again, this is another athlete or celebrity who is speaking out of sheer and utter ignorance. And I get it. You know what? Everyone has a right to speak, but not everyone has a right to be heard, or no, not everyone has a right to be listened to.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, look, when you don't know what you're talking about, don't talk about it. Don't try to pass yourself off as an expert. In particular, don't be as smug and indignant as he is in this particular piece. Because it's funny how he brought up Texas and he brought up Florida. You notice he didn't bring up Colorado, which has stricter voting laws. He didn't bring up New York, which has stricter voting laws. No, he didn't bring up liberal states that have, or blue states that have stricter voting laws. But, once again, what does he know?
Listen, it has everything to do with his friends. Okay, I'm convinced he has no real friends. What he has is people that hang around with him because he has money. And when he says something, they go. He says, "What do you think?" They go, "Oh yeah, Shannon, that's good. That's good. That's good." If he dressed up like a member of Devo and decided he was going to go out like that, his friends would say, or the people around him would say, "No, man, it looks great. It looks great." He's got people hanging around him that want to be near him and his money. He has no true friends. Just my opinion from hanging out with people that do have more money than they should.
Well, I will tell you this, and this is the thing that I've come to learn, and this is people. When you start getting involved in politics, whether it's as an entertainer, here's the thing: you don't gain any new support. All you do is you lose people. And I don't mind you having your political position, but when your political position starts to then creep in on what you do. So in this case, he's a sports commentator, and now all of a sudden he decides he wants to commentate on politics. Well, once again, when you demonstrate that you are wholly ignorant, then I will tune you out altogether. And that's what winds up happening. That's why I don't watch Major League Baseball. I've stopped watching the NBA. I've stopped watching a lot of things and participating in a lot of things just because, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be a captive audience for you to espouse your idiocy.
The greatest basketball player that ever played is Michael Jordan, without a doubt. Now, LeBron will try and say, or people will try and argue that LeBron is the better basketball player. Listen, let's leave stats aside. Let's leave that Michael Jordan played for. Well, he played for two teams, but he owned the second one when he played for it. But the first team, he played with the Bulls for years and years, 6 rings. Brought him home. When Michael Jordan was asked to get involved in politics, if you remember this, back in the early '90s, he said no, he would not. He's here for entertainment. He's here as a sports figure. He's here to make everybody pleased with him. In fact, his quote was, "No, because Republicans buy shoes too." He understood, where his was, where he served the greater purpose was to give people relief from the outside. Now, LeBron may be, if you put stats next to stats, by career, the better basketball player, but he's made enemies with half of the country.
Right.
So he will never have that title because, Michael Jordan decided, I'm an entertainer, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do that better than anybody else ever has.
Well, hey, at least LeBron doesn't have any enemies in China.
Yeah, exactly right. Because guess how much it costs to make a shoe in China? It costs, I think a bowl of rice and 2 beatings is what it costs. Yeah.
On that note, I think we're going to call it a day, folks. Hey, thank you for tuning in. Remember, subscribe. In case I forgot to tell you, what else was I supposed to tell them, Mike?
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Join the rundown. Get your friends to join the rundown. We'll talk to you guys later.